Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why we work so hard? Why we spend the majority of our waking hours locked in a cycle of tasks, emails, meetings, and deadlines, only to find that we are constantly running, but never getting anywhere? It's a question that most of us rarely ask, but it's one that should be asked, because the answer might be more disturbing than we think. We live in a world where we are taught to work to survive, yet we end up surviving only through our work. Think about it. You wake up to an alarm, spend the day hustling from one task to the next, and then collapse into bed, exhausted, just to do it all over again the next day. Day in, day out, we chase a dream we never stop to question. We're told that work defines us, that we should be grateful for every opportunity to climb the corporate ladder or meet another deadline. But is that really the life we were meant to live? The harsh truth is that we're trapped in a system that doesn't care about our happiness, our health, or our time. This is the new slavery. We are conditioned to think that the more we work, the more we earn the right to live. But what if I told you that this mindset is a trap, designed to keep you stuck in an endless cycle of exhaustion and dissatisfaction? Think about it. We work to earn money, but the more we work, the less time we have to enjoy what that money is supposed to bring us. We work to find success, but when we do, we realize we've sacrificed so much that success doesn't even feel fulfilling anymore. We work to build a future, but in doing so, we lose the present moment, the very time we're supposed to be living for. The idea that you work to live, but only live working is not a fluke, it's a conscious design, engineered to make us feel like our worth is tied only to our productivity. The system keeps us on a never-ending treadmill, convincing us that we have no choice but to run harder and faster. But here's the question you need to ask yourself. Is this really the life you want? We've all heard the phrase hustle culture, that idea that the more you grind, the more you achieve. The more you sacrifice, the more success you'll reap. The idea is romanticized everywhere you look, on social media, in motivational speeches, in the movies. But if you take a moment to really think about it, you'll see something troubling. We are trapped in a system that values productivity over well-being, work over life. From the moment we wake up, we are bombarded with reminders of what needs to be done. There are emails to respond to, meetings to attend, projects to manage, and deadlines to meet. The clock seems to tick louder each day, with every tick echoing the weight of expectations and demands. You get to work, and what happens? You work. And when you're done working, what do? You work some more. When the weekend comes, instead of relaxing and recharging, we feel the pressure of a never-ending to-do list, of tasks waiting to be completed. That this is not living. This is surviving. And the worst part is, we have been conditioned to believe that this is the only way to live. Society teaches us that success, happiness, and fulfillment come from pushing harder, grinding more, and making more money. We measure our worth by how busy we are, by how productive we can be, by how much we can achieve. The busier we are, the more successful we appear. But let me ask you, what's the cost of this? When was the last time you had time to just be? To do something you love, without the guilt of thinking about work? When was the last time you took a walk just for the sake of walking, or enjoyed a meal without checking your phone every few minutes to make sure you're not missing an email? It's hard to remember, isn't it? Because in today's world, we're not given space to pause and simply live. We're too busy working, running, striving, and chasing a dream that always feels just out of reach. This cycle of overwork doesn't just affect our time, it affects our health, our relationships, and our sense of self. Think about the last time you were at work, overwhelmed with tasks, physically drained, emotionally spent. How many of those moments ended in burnout? How many times did you find yourself sacrificing your mental and physical health just to meet a deadline? We're constantly told that it's normal, that this is part of the grind, part of success. But let's face it, it's not normal, it's damaging. Physically, we are exhausted. Many of us don't get enough sleep, don't exercise, and don't take time to rest. Instead, we drink coffee to keep going, pop painkillers to deal with the tension, and keep pushing through because that's what's expected of us. Mentally, we are drained. We live in a state of constant stress, our minds racing from one task to the next, never fully present, always worried about what's coming next. Emotionally, we are disconnected from ourselves, from others, and from the world around us. We forget how to enjoy the simple things in life because we're too focused on the future, on what still needs to be done. But the question is, why are we doing this to ourselves? The system we live in tells us that this is the only way to success. The world tells us that the more we work, the more we prove our worth. But in reality, this work-to-live mentality is the new form of slavery. We are working to survive, but in doing so, we're forgetting to truly live. This isn't a choice. We've been conditioned to think that we must trade our time, our energy, and our well-being for the promise of future rewards. But here's the truth. No amount of money or success will ever be enough if you don't have the time, the energy, or the life to enjoy it. What happens when we fall into this trap is that we start believing that we are defined by our work. We forget what it means to be fully present in our lives. We forget to nourish our relationships, to nurture our passions, or to take care of our health. Instead, we let the demands of work dictate how we spend our time, our energy, and our emotions. So, how did we get here? How did work become the center of our lives? The answer lies in the system we've created, one that measures value by how much we produce. We have been taught to view ourselves as cogs in a machine, where our worth is determined by what we can contribute, how much we can give, and how fast we can work. This cycle continues, fueled by fear of failure, fear of falling behind, fear of not being enough. But it doesn't have to be this way. There's a way out. The first step is acknowledging that this isn't living. This is merely surviving. And you deserve more than just surviving. You deserve to thrive. When we look at the hustle culture that dominates our world, it's easy to miss the hidden costs of constantly working without pause. On the surface, it seems like a badge of honor to be busy, to be productive, to be working toward a bigger goal. Society celebrates it. But there's a darker side to this mentality that many of us fail to see until it's too late. The first cost is physical health. We often sacrifice our well-being for the sake of deadlines, targets, and success. The long hours at the office, the sleepless nights spent thinking about work, the constant pressure to perform all these take a toll on our bodies. We may convince ourselves that it's just temporary, that we'll sleep when we're done, but the truth is, this lifestyle is unsustainable. Have you ever felt physically drained, yet still pushed yourself to keep going, telling yourself that you'll rest after just one more task? It's a vicious cycle. The body begins to break down when it's not given time to recover. Chronic stress leads to sleep deprivation, weakened immune systems, and even long-term illnesses like heart disease and diabetes. Yet we ignore the warning signs. Why? Because we've been conditioned to believe that our value is tied to our productivity. The faster we work, the more we achieve, the better we are. But what happens when we ignore our physical health for too long? We burn out. We find ourselves unable to perform even the simplest tasks, and eventually, we crash. Our body forces us to rest when we've pushed it too far. But by then, the damage has been done. The second cost is mental health. The relentless pace of modern work culture creates an environment of constant stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. We live in a state of perpetual urgency, always thinking ahead, always worried about the next project, the next deadline, the next task that needs to be completed. Our minds are never truly at rest. Even when we're not working, have you ever tried to take a break, only to find that your mind is still racing? Thoughts about work invade every moment of your day. Your mind can't stop analyzing, planning, and worrying, and as a result, you never truly feel present. This is the mental toll of overwork. Anxiety builds up as we constantly feel like we're falling behind. We worry about disappointing others, missing opportunities, or failing. Our minds become overwhelmed with the thought that we are never doing enough. This mental strain doesn't just affect our work, it affects every aspect of our lives. Anxiety seeps into our relationships, our personal time, and our ability to enjoy life. It robs us of the peace we deserve. Yet, we continue to push through, because that's what society expects from us. In fact, we've been taught that being constantly busy means we're successful. We feel guilty if we're not working, as if taking a break is a sign of weakness. But what we fail to realize is that this constant pressure is slowly deteriorating our mental health. The third cost is emotional well-being. When we live in a constant state of hustle, we neglect the emotional connections that give our lives meaning. Relationships with family, friends, and even ourselves suffer. We're so caught up in the demands of work that we forget to nurture the things that truly matter. How many of us have missed important moments in our relationships because we were too busy with work? How many family gatherings, birthdays, or vacations have we skipped, convinced that the work we were doing was more important? Over time, we lose touch with the people we love, and we begin to feel isolated, even though we're surrounded by others. This emotional distance also extends to ourselves. We forget to check in with our own needs and desires. We become so consumed with meeting external expectations that we lose sight of what truly makes us happy. We forget to rest, to play, and to do things that bring us joy. We forget how to be present in the moment, because we're always thinking about what's next. In many ways, this emotional cost is the most devastating because it disconnects us from the very things that make life worth living: love, connection, and joy. But here's the most important truth. All of these costs, the physical, mental, and emotional tolls, are the result of believing that your worth is determined by your work. When you're constantly measuring yourself by how much you produce, you lose sight of what truly matters: your well-being, your relationships, and your sense of purpose. It doesn't have to be this way. The cost of overwork doesn't have to define you. You don't have to keep sacrificing your health, your happiness, and your peace just to meet society's demands. What would happen if you decided to stop living for work? What would happen if you started taking control of your time, your energy, and your life? What if you could break free from the constant cycle of overwork and truly live the life you deserve? This journey toward freedom starts with awareness. It starts with recognizing that you are not your job. Your value is not determined by how much you can produce, how many hours you work, or how much you achieve. Your value is intrinsic. It's about who you are, not what you do. And the moment you understand that, the moment you realize that you are not defined by your work, you can begin to reclaim your time, your health, and your life. It's easy to get trapped in the idea that to succeed, we must dedicate all of our time and energy to our work. We've been conditioned to think that working harder and longer will eventually lead to a life of freedom, prosperity, and fulfillment. But here's the shocking truth: the more we work, the less we live. We sacrifice our time, our health, and our relationships for a future that always seems just out of reach. But what if the key to real freedom isn't found in more work, but in less work, or at least in work that serves us rather than enslaves us? The first step in breaking free from this cycle is understanding that you don't need to work harder to live better. The idea that the more you work, the better your life will be, is a myth. We live in a world that constantly pushes us to be more productive, more efficient, and more successful. But in doing so, we forget the most important thing. Life is about living, not working. So how do we reclaim our time, our energy, and our freedom from the constant demands of work? The answer lies in awareness and redefining what success means. Start by asking yourself, what is it that you truly value in life? Is it the next promotion, the next paycheck, or is it something deeper, something that gives you a sense of fulfillment, peace, and joy. When you begin to redefine your idea of success, you start to see that it doesn't have to be tied to how many hours you work or how much money you make. Real success is about finding balance, living authentically, and creating space for the things that matter most: your health, your relationships, your passions, and your peace of mind. The key to this transformation is creating boundaries. Boundaries are not about shutting out work completely, but about making sure that work does not consume every part of your life. This means setting clear limits on when you start and stop working, and learning to say no when necessary. Boundaries also mean protecting your personal time for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. It's about realizing that you can't pour from an empty cup, and that in order to show up fully in your work and in your life, you need to prioritize your own well-being. One of the most powerful things you can do to reclaim your freedom is to learn the art of doing less. We often think that in order to succeed, we need to do more. More work, more effort, more tasks on the to-do list. But doing less doesn't mean doing less for the sake of laziness. It means being intentional about how you spend your time and energy. It means focusing on what truly matters and letting go of the unnecessary distractions and obligations that weigh you down. Take a moment and think about your daily routine. How many of the things you do each day are actually essential? How many are just habits or societal expectations that you've been conditioned to follow? Start to eliminate the things that don't add value to your life. This doesn't mean you have to quit your job or stop working altogether. It means you need to find ways to work smarter, not harder. Another essential step in reclaiming your time and freedom is practicing self-care. This is something that many of us neglect because we're too busy working or taking care of others. But self-care is not selfish, it's necessary. It's about making sure you're taking care of your body, mind, and soul so that you can show up as your best self. This could mean getting enough sleep, eating nutritious food, exercising, meditating, or simply spending time doing something you love. The more you take care of yourself, the more energy, clarity, and focus you will have to dedicate to your work and your personal life. Finally, embracing the power of presence is key to breaking free from the cycle of overwork. We live in a world that encourages multitasking and constant distractions, but real freedom comes from being fully present in whatever you're doing. Whether you're working, spending time with loved ones, or simply enjoying some alone time, being present allows you to experience life more fully. It helps you focus on the quality of your work and relationships rather than the quantity. It also helps reduce stress, improve mental clarity, and increase overall happiness. Here's the truth: you don't need to be busy to be successful. In fact, the less you let work dominate your life, the more you'll be able to focus on the things that really matter. By creating boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and embracing the power of presence, you can step out of the cycle of overwork and create a life that truly fulfills you. But breaking free from the trap of work isn't easy. It requires conscious effort and a shift in mindset. You have to make the decision to take back control of your time and start living on your own terms. It's about finding balance and recognizing that life is happening right now, not some distant point in the future. The freedom you seek is not in the future, it's in the present. And when you start living for the things that truly matter, you'll realize that work is just one small part of the bigger picture. You were not born to work endlessly. You were born to live, to thrive, and to experience life to the fullest. The choice is yours. You can continue to be a slave to work, or you can take the first step toward true freedom and start living a life that's meaningful and fulfilling. Now that we've uncovered the hidden costs of overwork and discussed the need for reclaiming our time and freedom, it's time to take real action. It's one thing to recognize that work has become the center of your life, and another to make changes that allow you to live fully on your own terms. Change requires more than awareness, it requires action. The first and most important step in breaking free from the cycle of overwork is to create clear boundaries. Boundaries are not just about saying no to others. They're about saying yes to yourself. It's about recognizing that your time is valuable and that your well-being must come first. Without boundaries, work will continue to creep into every aspect of your life. Your evenings, your weekends, your vacations, they all become extensions of your workday, leaving you with little time for rest, reflection, and connection. Start with the basics. When you're off work, you're off work. Set a firm line between when you are working and when you are not. This might mean turning off work-related notifications, setting an automatic email reply, or physically stepping away from your workspace at the end of the day. You may feel the urge to keep checking your phone or computer for new tasks or updates. But remember, this is the moment you start taking control of your time. And don't feel guilty about it. Guilt is one of the most powerful weapons the system uses to keep you trapped. Guilt says, "You're not doing enough." But let's face it, you're already doing more than enough. You don't owe anyone your time 24/7. You owe yourself the space to recharge, reflect, and reconnect with what really matters. Once you've set clear boundaries, the next step is to prioritize your health, both physically and mentally. If you're constantly overworking, your body and mind are in a state of constant stress. This stress impacts everything, from your immune system to your emotional state. Your health is not something you can postpone, and the longer you put it off, the more difficult it will be to break free from the cycle. Start by making time for rest. Sleep is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Without adequate sleep, your ability to think clearly, make decisions, and perform at your best is compromised. So make sleep a priority. Set a bedtime, create a relaxing pre-sleep routine, and give yourself the gift of a good night's rest. Exercise is also critical. You don't have to hit the gym every day, but regular physical activity, even if it's just a walk around the block, can help reduce stress, improve mood, and boost energy. Start small, but commit to making movement a part of your day. Mental health is just as important. Practice mindfulness, meditation, or simply take time to sit in silence and reflect. Doing so can help you disconnect from the constant buzz of your thoughts, reduce stress, and improve focus. Meditation doesn't have to be long or complicated. Just 5 minutes of quiet breathing can make a huge difference in how you feel. Another essential step is getting clear on your priorities. What do you truly care about in life? What do you want to experience? What brings you joy? Write these things down and use them as a filter for every decision you make moving forward. As you move through your daily routine, ask yourself, is this in alignment with my values? Is this something I truly want to do? It's easy to get caught up in the demands of work, especially when it feels like there's always something urgent to do. But you need to start questioning the urgency. Not everything is an emergency. In fact, much of what we think we need to do is just a distraction from what truly matters. To break the cycle of overwork, you need to start saying no to things that don't align with your values or your goals. This is not selfish. It's essential. Saying no allows you to protect your time, your energy, and your peace. Saying no is a form of self-care. It's saying yes to yourself. As you start taking these actions, you will notice something profound. The more you protect your time and health, the more energy you will have for what truly matters. You will be more present in your work, your relationships, and your personal life. Another way to take action is by redefining success. We've been taught to equate success with money, status, and endless productivity. But true success is about balance, fulfillment, and living authentically. When you stop measuring success by how much you work or how much you achieve, you begin to see success in a new light. Success is about living with purpose, being present, and creating a life that feels meaningful and rewarding, not just busy. One of the most powerful tools you have in this journey is reflection. Take time at the end of each day to ask yourself, how did I spend my time today? Did I do things that align with my values and my goals? Reflection allows you to see where you're getting off track and helps you stay focused on what matters. The first step is always the hardest, but it's also the most important. By setting boundaries, prioritizing your health, redefining success, and reflecting on your actions, you take back control of your life. You no longer have to be a slave to work. You have the power to reclaim your time, your energy, and your freedom. We've explored the damaging effects of overwork. We've discussed how to reclaim our time, health, and well-being. Now let's dive into a deeper question. What does true freedom really mean in a world where work dominates our lives? True freedom isn't just about having more time off from work. It's not simply about reducing your hours or quitting your job. True freedom is about freedom of the mind, freedom from the constant pressure to do more, to be more, and to achieve more. It's about stepping away from the illusion that your value is tied to your productivity and recognizing that your worth is inherent, not dependent on external measures of success. In the world we live in, we've been conditioned to believe that we are only valuable if we're producing. Our work has become our identity, and our identity has become our work. But this is where the trap lies. When we tie our self-worth to what we do, we start to lose sight of who we truly are. We become so attached to our roles, titles, and accomplishments that we forget to simply be. True freedom comes when we realize that we are not our work. We are not our job titles. We are not the hours we spend behind a desk, the meetings we attend, or the projects we complete. Our true identity is much deeper than that. It lies in the quiet moments when we are present with ourselves, when we are fully alive and engaged in the world around us. Imagine for a moment that you are no longer tied to the endless cycle of work. Picture a life where your value is not determined by how much you can achieve or how hard you can hustle. What would it feel like to let go of the pressure to perform, to succeed, and to prove yourself? This is what true freedom feels like. It is the ability to live in the present moment without the constant weight of what's next hanging over your head. It is the freedom to pursue what truly excites and fulfills you, not because you have to, but because you choose to. It is the freedom to embrace stillness, to relax without guilt, and to simply enjoy the experience of being alive. True freedom is also about embracing your humanity, accepting that you don't need to be perfect, you don't need to be constantly achieving, and you don't need to be working all the time to be worthy of love, respect, or happiness. It's about understanding that it's okay to rest, to make mistakes, and to take breaks. It's about shedding the layers of societal conditioning that tell you that you must constantly hustle, be productive, and compete with everyone around you. When you start to see your worth as independent of your work, you stop chasing external validation. You stop relying on the approval of others, whether that's from your boss, your peers, or society. You begin to trust in your own value, knowing that you are enough simply because you exist. One of the most liberating aspects of this shift is that you begin to understand the power of choice. Every day, you are presented with countless choices. You choose what you do, how you spend your time, and what you focus on. And as you take control of these choices, you begin to reclaim your autonomy. For many of us, freedom seems elusive. We believe that freedom comes when we reach a certain goal, whether it's a promotion, a paycheck, or a milestone. But the truth is that freedom is not a destination. It is a state of being. It's the ability to make choices that align with your deepest values, to live authentically, and to let go of the need to constantly prove yourself. It's important to remember that freedom doesn't mean completely abandoning responsibility. It doesn't mean quitting your job or running away from your obligations. It means recognizing that you are more than your work. You are a whole person, and you deserve time for yourself, for your loved ones, and for the things that truly bring you joy. Freedom is not about escaping your responsibilities. It's about finding balance and reclaiming your life from the constant demands of overwork. As you begin to embrace this new understanding of freedom, You'll notice something powerful. The more you let go of the need to work non-stop, the more energy, creativity, and fulfillment you'll find in your work. When you're not consumed by stress and pressure, you can approach your tasks with clarity and focus. You'll begin to enjoy the process rather than simply chasing the outcome. In this way, true freedom leads to a better, more authentic form of success, one that is grounded in balance, peace, and well-being. It's not about doing more, but about being more. Being fully present. Being true to yourself. Being free from the chains of overwork and the demands of a society that values productivity over humanity. Now, the question is, are you ready to step into that freedom? Are you ready to stop letting your work define you? Are you ready to reclaim your time, your health, your relationships, and your life? The journey to true freedom starts with a single choice. The choice to believe that you are enough as you are, without the need to constantly hustle, achieve, or prove yourself. The choice to embrace stillness, to prioritize what truly matters, and to live with intention. You are not your work. You are not your job. You are so much more than that. And when you step into that truth, you will find that the freedom you've been searching for was always within you. You've reached the final part of this journey. You've learned how work has become a form of modern-day slavery, how the system forces us to give up our time, health, and happiness in exchange for empty promises of success. You've discovered the steps to reclaim your time and freedom, to break free from the cycle of overwork, and to reconnect with what truly matters. But now, the most important question remains: what will you do with this newfound awareness? It's one thing to recognize the problem and understand the solution, but it's another to actually take action and transform your life. And that's where you come in. The choice is yours. The first step in making a change is realizing that you don't have to accept the way things are. You don't have to keep living the same way you always have. You don't have to continue sacrificing your well-being, your relationships, and your joy for the sake of work. You have the power to make a different choice. This is where your true freedom begins. It's about making a decision that shifts the course of your life. A decision to stop living for work and start living for yourself. A decision to stop chasing success on someone else's terms and start defining success on your own. A decision to step out of the cycle of overwork and step into a life that is full, balanced, and deeply meaningful. But breaking free from the trap of work is not easy. It will require courage. It will require you to challenge the beliefs and expectations that have been ingrained in you for years. It will require you to be brave enough to say no to things that drain you, to set boundaries that protect your time, and to prioritize your health, relationships, and passions above all else. You've spent so much of your life believing that your worth is tied to your work. But the truth is, you are not defined by your job. You are not defined by your productivity or the number of hours you put in. You are defined by your humanity, your ability to love, to create, to connect, and to live with purpose. Take a moment right now and ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to live? What do I want to prioritize? What do I want to achieve, not in terms of success, but in terms of happiness and fulfillment? This is the moment to decide. This is the turning point. The future is in your hands. You don't have to wait for some magical moment or the perfect set of circumstances to change. You have everything you need right now to start living differently. You have the power to choose how you spend your time, how you show up in the world, and how you experience life. I challenge you to make one change today. It could be small, but it will be powerful. Maybe it's setting a boundary with your work. Maybe it's taking a day off to rest and recharge. Maybe it's starting a new habit, one that nourishes your mind, body, or spirit. Whatever it is, take that first step toward reclaiming your life. Don't wait until tomorrow or someday, because those days never come. Start today. Remember, freedom is a choice. It's not something that happens automatically or by accident. It's a choice you make each day, in each moment. Every time you set a boundary, prioritize your health, or say no to something that drains you, you are choosing freedom. You are choosing a life that is yours to live. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that work is the most important thing in life. But when you step back and look at the bigger picture, you realize that work is just one part of the equation. The real value of life comes from the relationships we nurture, the experiences we have, and the joy we create in every moment. That's where true success lies. As you move forward, remember that you are worthy of a life filled with balance, peace, and fulfillment. You are not a machine. You are a human being with needs, desires, and dreams that go far beyond your job. And it's time to start living those dreams. So, I leave you with this. The choice is yours. Will you continue to be a slave to the grind, to the constant demands of work? Or will you choose to live a life that truly nourishes your soul? Will you keep running on the treadmill of endless tasks? Or will you step off and start living in alignment with your true self? It's time to take that step. It's time to break free. The life you've been waiting for is within your reach, and it starts with a single powerful decision. Choose freedom. Choose balance. Choose life.